to another episode of the Audacity show. Today's episode was unplanned. I feel the necessity to come up here and speak my mind on a couple things that's going on. I'm trying to find a balance between the content I'm putting out and letting things play out. But as you can see, things are just moving so fast in this timeline we're in that even before I put some content out, things are happening. And definitely after I put some content out, things are unfolding right before our eyes, at least for anyone that's paying attention. But with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit today, something that I find that's very important. It's a PSA. It's not a public service announcement. It's a plane safety announcement. All right? We're going to touch on a couple things that are going on right now in the skies, in our world, in our country, globally. We're going to touch on a couple things from a historical sense, from a scientific sense, from a metaphysical sense, definitely. And we're going to combine everything together. And if this don't make sense to you, it goes over your head. I understand. But there's no denying of what's going on and the things that are playing out in real life, in real time. The problem is there's multiple timelines going on at the same time. Like Future said, at the same damn time, right? That's real talk. Because I live in a different timeline than others. And I'm not saying that to brag or be arrogant, anything like that. Davey said it. I'm on a different type of time, right? I'm focusing on myself. I'm bettering myself, bettering those around me, trying to help as many people as possible while still helping myself, still staying grounded in my purpose, my intentions, and everything I stand for, right? But I'm also getting so many downloads and so many, my intuition is buzzing so much right now, and something is pushing me to speak more and to get this information out. And that something is my inner self, right? My higher self, my ancestor wisdom, my ancestral guidance, right? Because if you don't believe in your ancestors, if you don't believe in the people that came before you, you don't believe in your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents, you don't believe the land you're from, right? The land that you're entitled to. What do you believe in? Them? You believe in everything that society has put here for you? They are making the rules to your life? That doesn't make sense. It's never made sense to me, and that's why I've always had like a rebellious, attitude or rebellious persona about me. I just never was the type to, how they say don't take it short, right? I just never been the type to just let the powers that be of society put any unnecessary pressures on myself. And even if I did realize that was happening, I was mindful and aware of it. And I had to switch courses, right? Take another path, right? When things aren't going right, I went left, right? You know what I'm saying? So, I just want everybody to be open-minded. This is not the time to be closed-minded in your little box of religion, of history, of, well, they told me this, they told me that, my parents raised me this way. We in a whole different world. You should be teaching your parents right now, right? Think about it. All the technology that's coming out and everything, you should be teaching your parents how to use this technology, right? If you have parents, if you don't, God bless them, right? But your grandparents, your uncles, aunts, the people that came before you, right? You should be teaching them, because we in a whole nother world right now. A lot of them don't even know how to use this technology or whatnot. You should be showing them. I'm sure you know we grew up in an age where a cell phone and technology was just evolving so rapidly. Like, we know how to handle all this technology. Our parents, those who raised us, our guardians, they might not. Some of them do, which is great for them, but a lot of them don't, right? Digital literacy is a real thing. Some people don't even know how to turn on a computer, and they still call it a computer. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talking laptops and tablets and PCs and semiconductors and all this different stuff, right? And they talking about a computer or a desktop. I haven't seen one of those in a minute, right? Like a box computer and shit, right? But anyways, that's what I'm trying to say, right? We should be paying forward what we learn, our knowledge, right? We should be teaching not only our parents. You got to think about the generation we're in, right? We're right in the middle for the most part. At least my generation, right? My generation, we are in the middle. We should be gathering as much information and data as possible and sharing it with those who came before us, right? To help them live longer, live a better life, right? But also passing the information that we've learned down to the younger generations. I don't have kids, but passing them down to your kids, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, cousins, your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? If you work with kids, pass it down to your students, right? I mean, pass it down anyway. You come across kids all the time. You come across people in general all the time. Pass it on. Share the information. Share good, beneficial information, not gossip and bullshit. Like, there's no time for that, right? That shit is dead. That world is dead. It don't exist no more. That gossiping and that don't exist no more. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. A lot of us are on a different timeline, because that doesn't exist for me no more. I don't even see that. I don't consume it. It's not on my timeline, nothing. Every algorithm around me is already adapted to me. So I don't see that, if I'm being honest, right? You could do the same. All I see is high-level information, education, right? Self-help, right? Wellness, healthy lifestyles. That's all I see on my timeline, on my algorithms, right? That's all I see in the real world. Because if that's all I'm consuming, right, on a daily basis, now that's all I'm thinking about. That's how I'm feeling, and that's what I'm projecting out. I make my reality. Not them, not no one else. I'll make my reality. Call it what you want. But anyways, we're going to get into this PSA, man, because this is an emergency broadcast right now. Emergency, right? The things that are happening right now in our skies with all these planes going down, and it's not just in America, it's globally. They've been going down for the past 18 months minimum, maybe more, right? We didn't see incidents involving planes as much as we do now. We as frequent, we're literally seeing these things happen. It went from a rare occasion to a yearly occasion to a quarterly occasion. Now it's like a monthly, weekly, daily occasion. Look at the things that are happening, right? So I made a post 2 weeks ago about this, right? About all the planes going down globally, the drones and all of this stuff, right? And in my opinion, right, the reason these things are malfunctioning is because we are vibrating at a higher level as a collective. At least we're supposed to, right? I've always talked about as above, so below, right? We are in a new age, the age of Aquarius. We see the alignments of planets. That's a rare event. We're seeing frequent solar eclipses, lunar eclipses. Those are rare events happening, right? But we're seeing them more frequently. So when that happens more frequently, everything starts to change more rapidly, right? The energies above us are changing at a rapid pace. So the energies below where we are changing at a rapid pace. It only makes sense because that's the law of correspondence. Read the book The Kabbalion, 7 Hermetic Principles. The book The Secret tells you as above, so below. First page. I said it in my first video, you know. And excuse me for my passion, right? Because my passion is to help people and be of service to others as much as possible, right? So I do get a little, you know, my feathers get ruffled. You know what I'm saying? But it's for a reason. It's because for me it's common sense. But people ain't paying attention. They want to see what, you know, Beyonce is doing. They want to see what Drake is doing. They want to see what Kai Cenat's doing. Like, we ain't got time for that, man. Dead all that today. But I talked about all this stuff in my last post, right? You can see it on my page on my IG at the Audacity show, right? It's happening more frequently, right? Now, the reason I came on today, this is unplanned. I just literally was like, I gotta say something about this, right? Yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, a plane crashed in Washington, D.C., carrying 67 people. A lot of them were kids, a figure skating team. A lot of them were children, right? Not to mention the adults that were there, the guardians, the flight attendants, the pilots. When the information came out, the pilot was young. The pilot was my age. He was barely 30. He was like 34 or something, right? The co-pilot was like 28. These are young adults. Just these are people we need. We don't have a lot of pilots and engineers and stuff like that, right? So we can't allow things like this to happen, especially to our, you know, these are game changers. These are pioneers that are supposed to take us to another level and the next generation going forward, right? So first and foremost, rest their souls. You know what I'm saying? I hope the universe, you know, and I believe the universe, our creator, our source, you know, everything happens for a reason. It's unfortunate. They in good hands. That's my belief, right? We're not gonna sit up here on who, what, where, what. They in good hands. I'm sorry for the families, for your losses. A tragedy, plain and simple. At a loss for words, right? When you really think about it. But the thing is that this could be avoided. It could have been avoided, right? Now, there's a lot going on, right? Because these 2 plane crashes, right? I'm gonna get to the one today, like literally 30 minutes ago, maybe an hour ago in Philadelphia. But before I get into the plane crashes and the metaphysics behind it, let's talk a little bit about the history of planes, the history of plane manufacturers like Boeing. So Boeing, if people didn't know, Boeing is the company that makes planes, manufactures all planes, jets, helicopters, rockets, government equipment, like you name it, missiles, like they do all this, right? In America. Now, there's only one other company that I know of, at least, that I'm thinking off the top of my head, that does this, and it's called Airbus, which is a company out of France, I believe, out there in Europe, right? So these 2 companies are the only ones that I'm familiar with that manufacture planes, right? They're the 2. That's called a duopoly. When they're like the only 2 that are manufacturing and putting this stuff out, it's a duopoly, right? And that's tough, right? Because you're putting a lot of pressure on them to manufacture these things. And plus, if if demand is high for these, right? The quality, comes down. The quality of the work, the quality of the materials, the quality of the planes, the quality of safety comes down, and risk goes up, right? Now, if you have never heard of his Boeing, go watch the documentary on Netflix called Downfall. Downfall on Netflix. They gonna tell you a little bit about Boeing, and you probably won't ever want to be on a plane ever again. I'm just being real, right? No fear mongering. Go watch it. Now, this documentary talks about, I forgot what plane it was. Maybe I think it was the incident where it was in Malaysia, that there was a plane. The planes started just coming down, right? And they started blaming Boeing. But then you got whistleblowers who come out and talk, right? In the streets, in the trenches, in the hood, right? Where I grew up, we don't like whistleblowers. We call them other names. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But in the real world, in corporate, white collar people, right? These are whistleblowers, right? And Boeing has had so many whistleblowers come out and say how unsafe they are. That is crazy. And a lot of those whistleblowers, guess what? End up missing, end up dead. Who knows, right? Or even end up in jail, because then somehow, some way, they'll come out and say they were lying. Put them in jail, 100 years, right? It's crazy, right? But you can't go against, it's hard to go against corporations like this. Like, this is a multi-billion, billion, almost $1 trillion company in Boeing. As a duopoly, all the money's flowing into these two companies, right? So anyways, the documentary talks about the downfall of these planes, right? And the tragic accidents and the families getting no answers or whatnot. And come to find out, I don't really want to spoil it for you, right? But you got to go watch it, because there's more to the story than this. But come to find out, the more of the story is that Boeing actually was taking shortcuts in making these planes, right? They were manufacturing them a different way to cut costs and budget, like to save money, even though they're a billion, $1 trillion industry, right? They wanted to save money, cut costs, right? And started making planes a different way. And the messed up part about this is, I'm trying not to curse on here, but the messed up part about this is they weren't telling the pilots. So I forgot the name of the instrument, or the operating system or whatnot. You gotta go watch it, right? But long story short, they put like a different system in there, right? Different mechanisms on the plane, and the pilots didn't know about it. So when the pilots are trying to land the plane, like the plane started malfunctioning, and the pilots are trying to land it like normal, like they've been doing for years, right? Because these are veteran pilots from the Air Force and stuff like that, right? The plane wasn't responding, and they lost control. And it come to find out, it was that Boeing was taking shortcuts in manufacturing them. They were trying to cut costs, not only on manufacturing them, putting different systems in it, right? But also, they didn't want to retrain the pilots, because they were like, oh no, if we gotta, take the pilots away from flying just to retrain them, then that basically means we gotta put some flights on pause, and now that's fucking with our money. And we don't want to do that. Just whatever, they'll figure it out. That's literally what they did. Don't believe me? Go watch the documentary, Downfall. But let's get to these two recent crashes. So the plane crashes in Virginia, really, but it was over Washington, D.C. A plane, a jet, crashes into a Black Hawk helicopter. Now the thing is that Black Hawk helicopters, right? They are high technology, right? They're high level technology. They have come out already. Pilots of these Army veterans and stuff, Air Force veterans, have come out and said, there's no way, because black hearts are very agile, right? You can move sharply and quickly if you have to dodge something, right? But not only that, they have a system where they become autonomous, meaning if they see, they might dodge itself without you controlling it, right? If somebody loses control, the pilot loses control, falls asleep, whatever, something happens, there's autonomy, right? You can control them, right? Or it can control itself or from a tower or something like that, right? This didn't happen. And then if you see the flight pattern that the plane and the helicopter took, go watch the video of that, right? They redirected the plane from where it was supposed to go. They redirected it last minute. And the helicopter, you can see it from not even a mile away, 10 miles away. You can see it coming. And it doesn't change course. It goes directly to the airplane. And they both blow up, end up in the river. Over 60 people gone. Avoidable. Now, today, literally today in Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, and I came across this because I seen Wallow 267. Shout out Wallow, Gilly the Kid, the whole $1 million worth of game, right? I see Wallow post plane crash, North Philadelphia. Go check on your people. And the first thing that comes in my head is like, not again. Not again. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all think I feel good coming up here and talking about all the disasters and all the negativity that's going on out there, if y'all think I feel good about that, you're highly mistaken, because this is the last thing I want to talk about. I'd rather be up here. I got plenty of things to do. I got plenty of things to talk about that can help us as a people, right? I am extremely skilled on a whole, on another level where I'm very versatile, right? I got lived experience. I got professional experience. And I've been around a lot of good people. I've done a lot of good things, and I'm highly knowledgeable in a lot of different subjects, right? So I would love to be up here talking about, like, this is how we get money in the financial markets, right? Because that's what I do on a daily basis. And if y'all see my posts, y'all see I get money in the financial markets. Just while I'm sitting here talking to you, I could take a 30-minute break and get some money, right? Not only get the money, maintain it, flip it, right? Put it in the right investments. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things I can also show people how to tap in to their inner selves with the meditation, the wellness, the health, and all of this, right? I could come up here and do book reviews and point you to the right books to help you get on your educational journey and all of that. I'd rather be doing that. That was my intention, and it still is my intention with this platform, right? Because this ain't a podcast. It's a platform. I'm going to put out as much information, beneficial information as possible, right? But we got to speak on other things too, right? We got to speak on things that are happening in real time so y'all can understand them too, right? Because a lot of people might sweep them under the rug and ignore them and start focusing on some other bullshit that don't make sense. You're distracted by the sports, by the music, the entertainment, distractions, right? And we got to get to the, you know what I'm saying, nitty gritty part. But the plane crashed today, right? It says it was a small plane. It crashed into or near the Roosevelt Mall and like damaged a ton of buildings, on fire. It's literally still a active scene right now as we speak. 7:50 Eastern time. Active scene. This happened probably like an hour ago now. But we're going to talk about a few things. Now, in my opinion, right, I know there has been plenty global accidents in the last 18 months, right? all types of countries, Korea, Kazakhstan, and Malaysia, and Indonesia, and all these things, right? I get it, right? But we're going to talk about these two things right now, right? These two are the most relevant. Those are going down, right? I believe those are going down because of the energy, right? A lot of it has to do with the energy, right? And the magnetic field. I posted this, the EMPs and all of that. We're just vibrating at a different frequency, right? But if I could understand this information and tap into this information and see this information coming, right? I don't know how that came behind me, right? The filter, but whatever, I'll take it. So if I could tap into that information and see it coming, predict it, basically, right? Prepare for it. You think others can't? You think people with more access to technology, more access to information, more access to money than me can't see these things happen? I mean, this is not rocket science. It's just science. Metaphysics. Study it, and you're gonna start seeing patterns, and you're gonna start putting pieces to the puzzle together, like I do, right? Now, in my opinion, the last two crashes that happened, the one in Virginia by Reagan Airport, and the one today by Roosevelt Mall, in my opinion, this is nobody else's opinion. I haven't seen this anywhere else. There's no news on this, anything like that. This is controversial. In my opinion, these are cyber attacks. In my humble opinion. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because we've been at war for years. We've been at war. We've been at war since 2020. What people don't understand is that it's a different kind of war. We don't go to war like the battlefield, like in the 1800s, like, yo, you get your guns, I'm gonna get my guns, and we're gonna go out there and do what we gotta do. Or bow and arrows, right? This is not that time. These days, we have economic wars, we have spiritual wars, right? We have mental wars, and we have nuclear wars, biochemical wars, and cyber wars, right? We also have trade wars. Right now, we're in the middle of a trade war, right? When Trump comes out talking about he's putting tariffs on Mexico, Canada, Colombia, Panama, China specifically, right? Russia, all these things. What do you think they're doing? They're going to come back, retaliate. Colombia tried it, and then they thought about it, right? Because they don't really have the resources, the economy to go head to head with America. But Russia don't give a fuck. Russia was like, we're gonna go do this thing in Ukraine. America was like, we cutting you off from everything. And Russia said, we don't care. We still got the Chinese and the Saudis to do business with. And they are bigger economies than you, and they have more money than you in America. So we don't care. They don't care. They stand up to the bully. And let's get this straight. America, they're the bullies. They're the bullies. And nobody likes bullies. Right? But we are in the middle of economic wars, right? The economies around the world are still recovering from the 2020 situation, scamdemic, right? They're still recovering from that. If you don't think that was orchestrated, you're bugging, delusional. But we're not even going to touch on that because I'm trying to keep this platform, right? And you know how things, the algorithm is crazy if you start talking about that. That was orchestrated, right? During that whole situation, I could actually point you to the book. It's called, I don't want to say the word, but C-19. And the global predator, something like that. You know, I got it on my Kindle. I don't have the physical book for me to pop up and show you, but I got it on my Kindle. This was orchestrated for more than 10 years. They've been talking about this. You got to understand, they create problems just to find a solution. Because think about it, you can't find a solution without a problem. So like scientists, in order for them to create, vaccines, I don't want to say the whole word, they got to create viruses, like a computer virus, right? They got to create a computer virus to create a solution for that computer virus, if you catch my drift, right? That's how it works. So there was that, right? We've been bumping heads with China left and right? Then Russia, right? The Saudis and the Middle East for oil and all this stuff, right? And they start throwing religion out there and DEI and gender and race and stuff like that, man. Distractions. Those are all distractions. That's all cap. But we got the trade wars, we got the economic wars, we got the mental wars, right? Because when they start throwing race and culture and DEI or whatever, they fucking with your mental. Now you start thinking, like, am I not good enough being black? Am I not good enough being of a different or, gender transitioning or whatever? Am I not good enough? And now they start fucking with your mental, right? But they also start fucking with your spiritual, right? They start talking about religion, right? And putting religions against each other. Now that's fucking with your spiritual, right? So we have all different types of warfare. This is modern day warfare. No video game. Modern day warfare. This ain't bows and arrows and bullets no more. This is how they doing warfares. And the number one warfare that's coming, they're scaring you with the biochemical stuff like the nuclear, right? There's no nuclear. That's not gonna happen. And I can't really get into why that's not gonna happen, right? Because y'all won't even believe me. It's gonna go super over your heads, right? But let's just say they're not allowed. Somebody put the brakes on that. They're not allowed to use nuclear. This is since the Japanese, the Hiroshima, right? When they nuked or whatever, used the atomic bomb. When that happened, somebody said, nope, that's not happening no more. And we're not even going to touch on that, right? Biochemical is real. That's what, like, the 2020 thing, right? That's why you see a lot of, monkeypox and all this crazy stuff coming out, right? But cyber attacks is where it's at right now. Cyber attacks. When you see Capital One a couple of weeks ago, people were complaining it was trending because they didn't get paid. Some of them got Capital One banking or whatever, and Capital One was down over the weekend holding people's paychecks. They didn't come out and say nothing. Guess what? Cyber attack. 100%, right? The banks, right? Microsoft came out and said their systems crashed, right? This is the UNH, United Healthcare, said they were hacked and a lot of patients' information were taken and all of that, right? Cyber attacks. That's all it is, right? So the two recent plane crashes, I think that's what that was. And the reason I say that, right, is you got to understand, when you play the financial markets, specifically the stock market, because people play crypto and all of that stuff, right? But when you play the futures, which is like commodities, you start trading foods and, rice, gold, and stuff like that, right? Commodities. When you play futures and you play stocks, you start seeing things before they happen. Because the market starts acting unrational. A lot of selling comes in, a lot of pressure at a high volume, right? And that's because the powers that be, right? The people, the 1% of the wealthy, right? They know what's coming before it comes. Go watch the movie, Leave the World Behind. If you haven't watched the movie, the black guy in the movie is a financial advisor. And his clients are billionaires, part of the 1%. And throughout the whole movie, he's scared to talk about it, right? Because he doesn't want to manifest it. He doesn't really want to believe it. But he ends up spilling the beans and saying, I knew something was gonna happen because my client started selling his stocks, selling his assets, hoarding his assets, and went MIA on me. I knew something was gonna happen, and then the movie, it goes crazy from there, right? So we start seeing these are signs, right? It's telling us in the movies what's happening, and not to mention in the movies, it got Teslas blowing up, like a Tesla blew up at the beginning of this year. It got drones and stuff, like the drones this year, right, or the end of last year. It also got Iran, North Korea, China, mixed in, like it's happening right now. So it was produced by Michelle and Barack Obama. So like, hello, 1+1 = 2. You know what I'm saying? Not a, not according to Terrence Howard. He disagrees with me, but if you know, you know. But that's why I believe they're cyber attacks. You know what I'm saying? It just makes sense to me. We at war. They trying to do it discreet, and they trying to dethrone the president, the current president. They're trying to dethrone him, and we've been seeing it since day one, January 1st. Why do I say that? Well, January 1st, Trump Towers. I mentioned it in my first video, right? And I mentioned the correlation, and this was like the first week of January. My first video, titled 2025, Order Out of Chaos. There was gonna be chaos this year. I told y'all, right? And how did I know that? One, I started seeing the signs. You start seeing the signs last year, right? But in the beginning of the year, first day, what happens? A Tesla Cybertruck blows up, right? A Tesla Cybertruck blows up in front of where? Trump Towers, right? And the thing with that is, when you start seeing these signs, it's not a coincidence it blew up in front of Trump Towers. President Trump Towers, an explosion, right? But then we have the plane crash this week. Where did it crash? Reagan Airport. Ronald Reagan Airport. That's 2 presidents, right? Today, where did the plane crash today? Roosevelt Mall, Philadelphia. There was a couple presidents named Roosevelt. Theodore Franklin. I don't know who that mall's named after, but it's one of them. So we got Trump, we got Reagan, we got Roosevelt. 3 presidents, right? 3 incidents linked this year already. It's not even, we're still in January. 3 major incidents, right? The first one, the Trump one, they said it was a terrorist attack. Who was driving that? A veteran, supposedly, right? The second one, Reagan Airport, right? Who was flying those Black Hawks? Active military members, right? Roosevelt Mall. Who was flying that? I don't know yet, right? Because it literally is an active scene as we're speaking, right? I don't know yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a former military personnel, a current military personnel. I don't know. That's just that's just me thinking outside the box or whatever. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I hope I'm wrong. But if you see the correlation between these incidents, and presidents, they're sending a sign. And the common denominator for all three is that they were presidents. So then you start looking at the word president, and then you start looking at who's president, and then you start looking at what has happened since this person has been president. What has he been saying, right? This guy's outspoken, saying whatever's on his mind, saying it with his chest. Supposedly, they already tried to take him out a couple times. I don't know, that little sniper with the ear thing, his ear looks fine to me. This guy's been in front of the public eye ever since, and he looks 100% fine to me. His ears look fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? You get hit with a sniper gun, like a sniper rifle, you should have at least had a scar. You know what I'm saying? Like, if not, your whole ear blown off, but whatever. I say that to say, right? Pay attention to that. And I won't be surprised if this happens again. I hope I'm wrong. And I'm not saying like an incident where people, pass away or anything like that. No, God forbid. I'm saying I won't be surprised if some sort of event happens where a former president's name is linked to it somehow. Because as we can see, 1, 2, 3, that's the trend we're going in. You gotta follow the trends. You gotta follow the patterns. Now, another reason why I think this is, interesting, I guess I should say, right? You know what's one of the worst stocks the past couple years? Boeing. The same company that I just told you about that makes all these planes. Now, if it wasn't for it being a duopoly, meaning that there's only maybe 2 manufacturers that make these planes, right? Airbus and Boeing. If it wasn't for that, Boeing would have been a $10 stock. It's still roughly around 150, 200. I think it's around the 170 range right now, which is just like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Whoever's investing in that company is out their mind. But anyways, that's one of the worst stocks. Rightfully so, with all these planes falling out the sky, right? But you know what's the hottest stocks right now? And if you're not invested in the market, this is a gem right here. You're going to get into some of these names. The hottest stocks right now are not only technology and artificial intelligence, obviously we know about that, but cyber stocks. Cybersecurity companies are the hottest stocks right now. These are the number one stocks to get into right now. And it's not just like a quick trade, like I'm going to get into them now and sell them in a couple months. No, these are going to be booming for the next, I think, at least 5 to 10 years. You know what I'm saying? You want to get in some of those names now and sell at, 20, 30. You could sell them if you want. You'll probably be up 5,000% from here to then, right? And some of those companies are Palo Alto, ticker symbol PANW, Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto is a cybersecurity company, and the reason I love Palo Alto is because it does cybersecurity for the government. So if you got government contracts, you're funded by, it's hard to bet against that. It's really hard to bet against that. Boeing is the worst stock, right? And they still getting funds from the government because the government don't have no choice but to pay them to make their aircrafts, right? Palo Alto Networks, put that on your list. The next one, CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike Cybersecurity, ticker symbol CRWD. Now, CrowdStrike is probably my favorite one. I like Palo Alto just because of that government part about it. It's kind of like security there, like a little, you know what I'm saying, it won't fall off too much because of that, right? But CrowdStrike, on the other hand, is probably better than it. It's probably the best one in the world. But CrowdStrike had an incident last year. So CrowdStrike had an incident last year where there was companies that got hacked into, right? And the system, those and CrowdStrike was the cybersecurity for those companies. Excuse me. So basically, the hackers either got through the cybersecurity wall of CrowdStrike or went around it, and people started questioning CrowdStrike. Like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be one of the best stocks. If they could get through this, CrowdStrike's wall of defense, they could get through anything, right? So the stock went from $400, cut in half, 50%, $200. Now let me tell you something. I didn't get in CrowdStrike because I had a lot of my money tied up into other companies. I own Nvidia, I own Amazon, I own Google, I own Microsoft, I own Uber. Um, you know, I'm looking to get in Meta, the Ray-Bans, right? Meta, they own Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, all of that. Apple, you know, Apple's always gonna be a good play. Um, those are just to name a few, right? But Palo Alto, CrowdStrike. Now there's several. There's probably 50 of these companies. If I always suggest people to go for the top two in any industry. So, for example, like if you want to play the financial markets, I don't like playing banks, right? But I'll get into Visa and MasterCard because those are financial plays, and everybody got a Visa or MasterCard, right? That's safer, right? So in cybersecurity, to me, the top two are Palo Alto and CrowdStrike in no specific order. Like I said, I like Palo Alto because of the government backing, but CrowdStrike is a better company overall. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with the volatility, that means the up and down of those two names, because they are volatile. You know what I'm saying? They could go up, you know, 20% in a day, but they could get killed the next day 40%. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to deal with the ups and downs, right? But if you don't want that volatility, you can get the cybersecurity ETF that I like, which is Cyber. Ticker symbol CIBR. Cyber. That's a good one. That got the top cybersecurity funds. When ETF cyber is basically like a basket of stocks. So instead of picking one or two, you don't know what to choose from, right? This one has like 50 names in one, and it's less volatile. So like if Palo Alto goes crazy and it's going up 20%, but CrowdStrike goes down and it gets cut in half, the ETF cyber has both of them in it. So it's not gonna go up all the way because of Palo Alto, but it's also not gonna go all the way down because of CrowdStrike, right? It's gonna find somewhere in the middle. So if Palo Alto goes up 20% and CrowdStrike goes down 50%, right? You might get a 10% day. You know what I'm saying? Well, not even out of the ETF. Them ETFs move like 5% is a lot for an ETF, but it's better than losing 50% in one stock, right? But anyways, that's some gems there for y'all. Um, but we're gonna get into the metaphysics part about this, right? A little bit, and I touched on it with the whole link with the presidents or whatnot. But you know where there's another link? Another link is, believe it or not, sports. The Super Bowl. I've been talking about the Super Bowl, how Kendrick Lamar, SZA are important figures at the Super Bowl, but but also the location of the Super Bowl, New Orleans, and how New Orleans been trending lately, right? This is linked again. Why? Well, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, right? The Chiefs represent the natives, the Native Americans, the indigenous people, um, our ancestors, right? They on a roll. They going for a 3P. And they're gonna get a 3P. They're gonna win a 3P, believe it or not. In my opinion. Don't take my word for it. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna gamble at your own risk. But who they going against? The Philadelphia Eagles, right? So the Kansas City Chiefs represent the Native Americans, our ancestors, our indigenous people. The Philadelphia Eagles. Who do they represent? The other side. What is the symbol for America? An American eagle, right? But also, if you want to look at a different play, right? You know what they call planes in the military? Eagles, right? They be like war eagle and stuff like that, right? Because the flying vehicles, right? Like an eagle, right? So symbolically, this is something where it's the indigenous people against the colonizers, playing out in the sports world, entertainment, right in front of our eyes. Because they got to tell us the truth. The powers that be, you know what I'm saying, the people pulling the strings in the background, they have to tell us the truth. That's the law of karma, right? They don't have to explain it. They just got to tell us the truth. If we can't decipher it, if we can't figure it out, you know what I'm saying, it's not up to them. They put it out there for us, and their karma is safe. That's how the spiritual world works with karma, right? So the Chiefs versus the Eagles, right? Why is this correlated? Well, guess where the first plane crashed at Reagan Airport in Virginia, right? Guess where that crashed, right? The Potomac River, which is an indigenous area out there by Virginia, Maryland, DC area, right? The DMV. That's an indigenous area, the Potomac tribe, right? But where did that plane take off from? Kansas City. Kansas City. Okay? Now, the second incident, the one that happened today, where did that crash? Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you ain't gotta believe it. You ain't gotta see it how I see it, right? If you've seen my videos before, my clips, you know that I like to look at things from a different perspective, open-minded, and you gotta see a different side of reality, because we not looking at the same reality, me and you. No offense. If you don't believe me, you could follow my brother, good dude, solid with this metaphysical game, BDEL 1014, right? On YouTube, Instagram. This is free promo for them. And these are people that I've been following for years, at least, 2020, at least 5 years. Each of these people I'm going to mention, right? They heavy with the esotericism, with the metaphysics, right? Astrology, science, like these people are predicting things before they happen. Oh, it's not just me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm learning from them, and I'm also learning from them. These are downloads that were coming to me that weren't making sense since around 2020, maybe a little bit before that, right? They just weren't making sense, but they helped me put the pieces to the puzzle together. So we got BDEL 1014, follow him. We got Alkebalan 44. And these are people, I repost them all the time on IG and all of that stuff. Like, people ignore that. Click on the post. Read the post. You spend 30 seconds looking at a bullshit TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Wasting your time. Spend those 30 seconds reading a post, looking through the slides, and try to make sense of it, right? Alkebalan 44. Then we got Red and Blue Pill. These are twins, right? These are, I believe Dr. Sebi was their stepfather. Red and Blue Pill. Legends. Legendary in this game, right? Red Pill. I actually met Blue Pill at a 19 Keys event when he came to Boston live. Shout out to 19 Keys. Shout out to Blue Pill. Humble. Real one, right? I bought some gold water. The herbs, essentials, right? Went over there to support one of the high-level conversations, and Blue Pill was there. Solid dudes. Red and Blue Pill. Red Pillar 44, Blue Pill 44. Now, the next person, Brother Rich. Changed his name to Radiohead Rich, right? Because he's tapped in. Downloads, Radiohead, if you didn't get it. His platform is Black Magic 363 on Instagram, on YouTube. His YouTube, legendary. The guests he has on his YouTube on a daily basis, legendary. I promise you, I will not, lead you or misdirect you. You know what I'm saying? I will not lead you in the wrong direction. Like, that's not my intention. I promise you. This going to change your life, the information you come across, right? Because they talk about esotericism and metaphysics and all that, but then they talk about getting money too. Like, they talking about how to get into crypto, how to flip stocks and all of that. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, we not just out here, you know what I'm saying? Like, they networking in real life. These are the real, content creators or influencers, not, Mr. Beast or Kai Cenat. Like, no, they not doing nothing for you. Those people are distracting you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could go get their bags and all of that. Like, I'm not hating on them. Go get your bags, fellas. You know what I'm saying? But do something good with that money is my suggestion. But Red and Blue Pill 44, Black Magic 363, crazy, right? Cosmo 361, the OG Ra Aku. Yo, with the astrology, this guy's on a different level. If any episode that I watch with Cosmo 361 on, that's his Instagram name, but he goes by Ra Aku. Any episode I watch with the OG talking astrology, it's like I be feeling like he's in the room with me. Pause. Like, he be talking about, right? My sun sign is Gemini. Everybody just goes by their sun sign. We are a combination of things, but my sun sign is Gemini, and whenever he touches on them, on the signs and the zodiacs, and he touches on the B-days and what's coming or whatnot, I'll be like, how you know? How you know that's what I'm going through right now? Like, that's how on point they are with this information. Another one I'm going to give you is, there's so many of them, but I'm going to give you one more. Sister Myra Moss. Now, Sister Myra Moss, I don't think she a little, she a OG herself, right? And she's experienced, full of wisdom. I don't think she's on any platforms, like social media platforms or whatnot, but you could catch her on Black Magic 363's YouTube. And Sister Myra Moss with the astrology, crazy as well, right? With the information. But another reason I'm recommending her is because she breaks down the Super Bowls before they happen, right? And then she comes back after it and puts it together. Like, she'll tell you, like, yo, I think this is gonna happen, whatever. And then when it happens, she comes back and says, yo, so this is why this happened this way, because of what I told you last time. Like, it's crazy how she puts it together. She's been talking about the Kansas City Chiefs representing the ancestors and being on a roll like this for a minute. She predicted the 3Ks. She predicted the letter K would be trending in the media, celebrities, influencers like that. She gave us 3Ks. This was like 2 years ago. She gave us 3Ks to look out for. She said Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and Kendrick Lamar. And then Kanye West went on the rant with the anti-Semite, all that craziness, right? Kyrie Irving with the Hebrew stuff going on and the NBA trying to blackball him and all this stuff, right? And then Kendrick Lamar came out. He was the last piece to that puzzle, right? But then I started noticing it wasn't just them, because then we had Kamala Harris, right? Then we had Cat Williams, right? All these people were trending with a K, and she said this 2 years ago. This was like in 2022. You know what I'm saying? So when things start happening in 23, 24, 25, it's not just a coincidence. She on to something. And you got to pay attention to the signs. At least I do. But anyways, this wasn't supposed to be a full episode, right? I'm just trying to break down as much information in a short amount of time, right? Because this was unplanned, you know what I'm saying? I got studying to do, right? Not only studying this information, I got real studying to do. I'm still schooling myself and all of that. Every day I try to work on myself and try to get more knowledge, more information from wherever I can. I'm just trying to be 1% better each day. Nothing more, nothing less. But with that being said, I hope this PSA, public service announcement, aka plane safety announcement, doesn't go over your heads. Pay attention to the signs. Go check out my posts on Instagram. Go watch my full videos. My videos be like an hour long, maybe, an hour 10, an hour 20 minutes or whatever. Yes, those are long videos, right? I promise you, in those videos, you honestly, people should be watching with a notepad, taking notes. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm just confident in what I'm saying, right? And I am confident in the information I'm sharing, and I'm confident that it's going to be beneficial. There's a whole lot of game that I'm sharing in this information, in these platforms, in these videos. So if you haven't watched the video, if the average time on Instagram, like I post reels that are like, I started posting reels that were like 3 minutes long, and I'm like, wait a minute, the average time is like 30 seconds. So then I cut it down in half to like a minute and a half, thinking like maybe they'll watch more. No, the watch time will go down from 30 seconds to like 10 seconds. So we as a collective, our attention span is dwindling, right? And you only hurting yourself. I promise you. You only hurting yourself. This is legendary information. This is the greatest time to be alive. Tap into your inner self. Tap into your higher self. The ancestors are waiting on you to play your part. Play your part. Other than that, please, if you could, for now, stay off the planes. And I understand if you can't, you work in the industry, you traveling, you already got pre-plans and all of that. I get it. And I'm not trying to fearmonger. The only reason I say that is because just think about it. If at a time when all this is going on, the risk goes up, right? Things are riskier, so, when risk goes up, now you start thinking twice about things. And I just want y'all to think twice about certain things. And for anyone that can't avoid it, you know what I'm saying? My positivity, my energy is with you. And the source of all is with you, regardless what happens. You know what I'm saying? And things are going to get better. But right now, it's tough to see an end in sight for what's going on right now. Because they playing with these flying objects in the sky. It's not just the planes, the whole drones thing. They've been talking about UFOs. UAPs, they call them now. Pay attention to the skies. As above, so below. Peace and love to everyone. I appreciate y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm grateful. I hope you enjoyed the show. Transmission now. End the transmission.